Picture this: he's smooth, confident, and utterly magnetic with women he finds moderately attractive. His conversations flow effortlessly. His sexual energy is palpable, and his emotional detachment drives them wild. These women chase him, cook for him, and practically beg for his commitment. He can't understand why they're so desperate for his attention when he's barely interested in them. Then he meets her. The woman who makes his heart skip beats and scrambles his brain chemistry. The woman he's been waiting for, dreaming about, building up in his mind for months or years. And suddenly, everything that made him irresistible to other women disappears. He becomes needy, predictable, and desperately available. He texts immediately, compliments constantly, and chases her with the enthusiasm of a golden retriever. She loses interest faster than a melting ice cube. Isn't a story about one particular man. This is the universal male tragedy that plays out millions of times across the world, every single day. Men who are masters with women they don't want Beckham. Amateurs with women they do want. They possess all the right tools but useth them on all the wrong targets. Today, I'm going to reveal why attraction destroys confidence, how desire kills desire, and most importantly, how to treat the women you want exactly like the women you don't. The foundation of male dating failure lies in what I call the competence paradox. The devastating reality that men perform best with women, they care about least, and worst with women, they care about most. This paradox is more promising romantic opportunists than any other single factor in modern dating. The paradox operates through what I call emotional investment interference, a psychological phenomenon where the intensity of your attraction to a woman inversely correlates with your ability to attract her. The more you want her, the less likely you are to get her. The less you care about the outcome, the more likely you are to achieve it. This interference happens because emotional investment triggers a cascade of behavioral changes that systematically undermine attraction. When you don't care much about a woman's response, you naturally behave in ways that women feel. You're confident because rejection doesn't threaten you. You're sexually direct because you have nothing to lose, and you're emotionally unable because you're not seeking validation. But when you encounter a woman you genuinely desire, emotional investment activates what I call the desperation protocol, an unconscious system that transforms confident men into needy supplicants. The very attraction that should give you motivation instead gives you anxiety. The desire that should fuel your confidence instead fuels your fear. The competence paradox is particularly cruel because it ensures that men succeed with women who don't matter to them, while failing with women who do. This creates a feedback loop where men constantly find themselves in relationships that feel hollow while the relationships they truly want remain perpetually out of reach. Understanding the competence paradox is the first step towards solving it big, because it reveals that the problem isn't your lack of skill, it's your inability to access your skills when they matter most. You already know how to attract women. You just forget how to do it when it counts. What amplifies the competence paradox is what I call the attraction hierarchy illusion, the false ability that more attractive women require different approaches than less attractive women. This illusion convinces men that they need to upgrade their behaviors for upgrade women, when the reality is exactly the opposite. The hierarchy illusion operates on the assumption that women exist in different categories that require different strategies. Men believe that a woman they rate as moderately attractive should be approached with confidence and sexual directness, while a woman they find extremely attractive should be approached with reverence and romantic gestures. This categorization is completely fictional. Women don't operate according to different psychological principles based on their attractiveness levels. The same behavioral triggers that create attraction in one woman create attraction in all women. Regardless, OFO, beautiful, successful, or desirable they might be, the illusion becomes particularly dangerous when men develop what I call the beauty in the assumption that more attractive women expect differentiated because they're accustomed to being ripped. This response leads men to become more differential, more romantic, and more accommodating with women they find most attractive, but there's the crucial insight. Attractive men don't want different treatment, they want effective treatment. They're not impressed by men who worship their body because they've been receiving that worship their entire lives. They're attracted to men who treat them like sexual beings rather than decorative objects. The hierarchy illusion also creates what I call the false difficultyism, where men assume that attracting beautiful women requires more effort, more resources, or more romantic. In reality, attracting any woman requires the same fundamental albervers, confidence, sexual directness, and emotionally availability. Breaking free from the hierarchy illusion means recognizing that your attraction to a woman says nothing about what she requires from you. A woman you find irresistible needs the same treatment as a woman you find adequate. Your level of interest in her should never determine your approach to her. One of the most destructive aspects of male dating psychology is what I call safety perception trap. The tendency to approach less attractive women with confidence while approaching more attractive women with caution. This trap ensures that men use their most effective strategies on their least desired targets. The safety perception trap operates through risk assessment calculations that are completely backwards. Men perceive less attractive men as safer targets, where rejection won't hurt as much, so they're willing to take bigger risks, be more sexually direct, and show more confidence. They perceive more attractive women as dangerous targets where rejection would be devastating. So, they become a cautious, indirect, and approval-seeking. This risk assessment is based on what I call the ego protection fallacy, the belief that rejection from a less attractive woman would be less damaging to your self-esteem than ejection from a more attractive woman. But this calculation ignores a crucial reality. Rejection from someone you consider beneath you often hurts more than rejection from someone you consider above you. When a woman you find moderately attractive rejects you, your ego interprets this as a failure to succeed with someone who should have been grateful for your attention. When a woman you find extremely attractive rejects you, your ego can rationalize this as an understandable tone, given the mismatch in attractiveness levels. The safety perception trap also creates what I call the effort justification prem, where men believe that less attractive women require less effort to attract, so they're more willing to invest minimal energy in effective behaviors. With more attractive women, they assume greater effort is required, so they invest maximum energy in ineffective behaviors. This backwards investment strategy ensures that men achieve success where they don't want it while experiencing failure where they don't want it. They become masters of attracting women they're not excited about while remaining amateurs at attracting women they desire. The safety perception trap can only be overcome by eugenizing that no woman is safe and no woman is dangerous. Every interaction carries the same fundamental risk. She might not be interested. Your attraction to her doesn't change this risk. It on how much you care about the outcome. Perhaps the most shocking truth about female psychology is what I call standards equalization reality. The fact that women maintain essentially identical standards regardless of their own attractiveness levels. This reality destroys the assumption that less attractive women should be easier to attract than more attractive women. Standards equalization operates because women's mate selection criteria are based on their internal desires rather than their external market value. A woman who is moderately attractive or distant lower her standards to match her attractiveness level. She maintains threesome preferences for confidence, sexual commitments, and emotional unavailability that extremely attractive women have. This equalization explains why men often experience unexpected rejection from women they consider beneath them. These women aren't grateful for attention. They're selective about attention. They're not impressed by men who approach them as consolation prizes. They're attracted to men who approach them as first choices. The standard sexualization reality reveals why the practice on less attractive women's strategy often backfires. Men who approach moderately attractive women with the assumption that lower effort child yield positive results often encounter the same selectivity they would face with more attractive women, but without the psychological preona for rejection. This reality also explains what I call the attention inflation. effect where moderately attractive women receive a disproportionate amounts of male attention because men perceive them as more accessible. This increased attention can actually make them more selective and demanding than more attractive women who receive less frequent approaches. Understanding standards equalization means recognizing that every woman, regardless of her attractiveness level, responds to the same behavioral triggers. Confidence attracts all women. Sexual directness attracts all women. Emotional unavailability attracts all women. These triggers don't become less effective based on the woman's abhorrence. The equalization reality means that men who develop effective strategies with any women have developed effective strategies with all women. The behaviors that make him moderately attractive women pursue you will make extremely attractive women pursue you. If you can maintain those behaviors, despite your increased emotional investment, the most powerful tool that men possess for attracting women is what I call the confident detachment formula. A behavioral combination that emerges naturally when interacting with women they don't particularly want, but must be consciously maintained when interacting with women they do want. Confident detachment operates through three interconnected components that create an irresistible psychological union. The first component is outcome independence, the ability to engage with women without needing specific results from the interaction. When you don't care whether she likes you, you naturally behave in ways that make her want you to care. The second component is sexual directness, thrillingness to communicate romantic and physical interest without apology or hesitation. When you're not emotionally invested in a woman's approval, you can express desire honestly because a rejection doesn't threaten yourself. Concept. The third component is emotion. The maintenance of psychological distance that prevents women from taking your attention for granted. When you're not seeking validation from a woman, she naturally begins seeking validation from you. The confident detachment formula works back, positions you as the pursuer than the pursuer. Women are instinctively attracted to men who seem to have options, who aren't desperate for their specific approval, and what read romantic interactions as opportunities rather than auditions. This formula emerges automatically when men interact with women they don't want because low emotional investment produces confident behaviors. But maintaining this formula with women they do want requires conscious effort. Emotional regulation. The formula also explains why men often find themselves most successful with women when they're already in relationships or recently out of relationships. During these periods, they naturally maintain confident detachment because they're not desperately seeking romantic validation. Breaking the competence paradox requires learning to consciously maintain the confident detachment formula, regardless of your attraction level to the woman you're interacting with. This means treating your dream woman exactly like Hoa would treat a woman you're moderately interested in. The most destructive pattern in validating behavior is what I call the emotional investment death spiral. A cascading series of behavioral changes occur when men become too emotionally invested in specific romantic outcomes. This spiral systematically destroys attraction while enforcing the very desperation that caused it. The death spiral begins with attraction overwhelm. The psychologicals that occurs when a man encounters a woman who significantly exceeds his usual standards. This overwhelm triggers immediate emotional investment that interferes with his natural confident behaviors. The spiral progresses through stages. First, validation seeking, where men start complimenting Jesus and agreeing with everything she says. Then pursuit acceleration, where they text constantly and make themselves completely available. Finally, investment escalation, where they provide disproportionate resources, time, and emotional energy. The final stage is attraction devastation, where a woman loses all interest, because the man has transformed from a confident potential partner into a needy supplicant. The very behaviors he thought would secure her interest instead destroy any attraction she might have felt. Breaking the death spiral requires recognizing that emotional investment is the enemy of attraction, not its ally. The more you care about a specific outcome with a specific woman, the less likely you are to achieve that outcome. One of the most observable aspects of male dating failure is what I call the behavioral flip phenomenon. The systematic reversal of affective behaviors that occurs when men encounter women they genuinely desire. This flip transforms competent men into incompetent boys within minutes of meeting someone they actually want. The behavioral flip operates across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Men who naturally maintain confident body language with women they don't want become nervous and self-conscious with women they do want. Men who express sexual interest directly with moderate targets become hesitant and indirect with desirable targets. The flip also affects communication patterns. Men engage in playful teasing and challenging conversation with women they're not invested in become metaferential and accommodating with women they are invested in. They stop being interesting and start trying to be impressive. Timing behaviors flip dramatically during this phenomenon. Men won't naturally space out their communications with women they don't want begin texting immediately and frequently. With women they do want, they abandon the strategic patience that creates attraction in favor of the irreversibility that destroys it. The behavioral flip even affects sexual escalation patterns. Men who progress physically at appropriate paces with women they're not emotionally attached become either inappropriately grise or completely passive with women they are emotionally attached to. Perhaps most devastatingly, the flip affects emotional regulation. Men who maintain attractive emotional distance with women they don't want become emotionally expressive and vulnerably with women they do want, sharing feelings and future plans that should remain private during early attraction phases. The behavioral flip phenomenon reveals that men already possess all the skills necessary to attract any woman. They simply abandon these skills. When they encounter women who matter to them, the solution isn't learning new behaviors, it's maintaining effective behavior, regardless of emotion. Understanding this phenomenon allows men to recognize when they are about to flip and consciously maintain their effective approach patterns, even when their emotions are screaming for different behaviors. One of the most counterintuitive aspects of female psychology is what I call the pursuit resistance instinct, an unconscious response pattern that causes women to withdraw from men who chase them, even when those men represent excellent relationship opportunities. This instinct explains why pursuit-based consistently fail, regardless of the man's quality or the woman's initial interest. The pursuit resistance instinct operates as a psychological defense mechanism that evolved to protect women from making poor mating decisions under pressure. When women sense that men are chasing them, they instinctively create distance to maintain the clarity needed for accurate partner assessment. This instinct triggers what I call the pressure response, where increased malapursuit creates proportional female. The harder a man chases, the faster a woman runs, regardless of her rational assessment of his suitability as a partner. This response occurs below the level of conscious thought, and often contradicts women's stated preference for men who show interest. The pursuit resistance instinct also creates what I call the value inversion effect, where male pursuit actually decreases male value rather than demonstrating it. When men chase women, they signal that they believe the women are more valuable than they are. This signal triggers female psychology to treat them as less valuable, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. The instinct is particularly strong during early attraction phases when women are most uncertain about their feelings. This period often prevents attraction from developing rather than attraction. Women need psychological space to experience. Desire pursuit eliminates that space. Understanding the pursuit resistance instinct explains why men often experience success when they play hard to get, but fail when they express interest. Women aren't responding to manipulative games. They're responding to evolutionary programming that makes them value what they have to work for and devalue what chases them. The instinct can only be overcome by consistently avoiding pursuit behaviors, regardless of your desire to chase. This means maintaining the same level of initiative and availability with women you want as you would with women you don't want. The pursuit resistance instinct also explains why women often become interested in men only after those men stop pursuing them. The absence of pursuit pressure Alice natural attraction to develop without triggering. Defensive withdrawal exposedness. The solution to the competence paradox lies in what I call the system consistency principle. The practice of maintaining identical behavior rapproches with all women, regardless of your attraction level to them. This principle requires treating your dream woman exactly like you would treat a woman you're moderately interested in. System consistency operates by separating your internal emotional experience from your external behavioral expressions. You can feel excited about a particular woman while maintaining the confident, sexually direct, and emotionally detached approach that works with all women. The principle requires developing what I call behavioral discipline, the ability to consciously override impulses that would normally change your approach based on increased attraction. This discipline ensures that your most effective strategies are applied to your most desired targets. System consists maintaining identical communion patterns regardless of emotional investment. This means spacing out text the same way, initiating contact at the same frequency, and expressing the same level of availability, whether you're talking to someone you find adequate or someone you find extraordinary. The principle also requires maintaining consistent escalation patterns. You should progress physically and emotionally at the same pace with all women, regardless of how much you want to accelerate the process due to increased attraction. Most importantly, system consistency requires maintaining the same outcome attendance with all women. You should be equally prepared to walk away from any interaction if it's not progressing favorably, regardless of how much you want the specific woman. The system consistency principle is challenge-based. It requires conscious emotional regulation when your instincts are screaming for different behaviors. It means maintaining confident detachment. Every fiber of your being wants to express eager interest, but this principle is also liberating because it removes the pressure to develop different strategies for different women. Once you identify what works, you simply apply it universally. Your attraction to the woman becomes irrelevant to your approach with the woman. System consistency also protects you from the emotional devastation that comes from changing your approach based on how much you want someone. When you maintain the same system with everyone, rejection doesn't feel like a judgment of your special effort. It just feels like incompatibility. Implementing system consistency requires developing what I call the emotional regulation framework, a systematic approach to managing your internal emotional state so it doesn't interfere your external behavioral effects. This framework allows you to feel excitement about a woman while maintaining the emotional detachment that attracts her. The framework begins with attraction, acknowledgement. Consciously recognizing when you're becoming emotionally invested in a specific woman so you can implement countermeasures before your behavior changes. This acknowledgement prevents unconscious behavioral shifts that destroy attraction. The framework includes response standardization, developing predetermined behavioral responses to common dating situations that remain consistent regardless of your emotional investment. This includes standardized approaches to texting frequency, date planning, and physical escalation. Investment monitoring involves regularly assessing whether you're providing more energy or resources to a woman than you would provide to someone you're moderately interested in. This monitoring prevents the investment escalation that typically destroys attraction. The framework also includes alternative focus, maintaining aware other romantic possibilities, even when you're interested in a specific. This focus prevents the tunnel vision that makes men desperate for particular outcomes. The most advanced component is emotional competency, the ability to experience strong attraction to a woman while maintaining psychological distance, necessary for effective behavior. This allows you to appreciate her while avoiding the desperation that repels her. The most liberating insight about female psychology is what I call the universal attraction algorithm. The recognition that the same behavioral patterns create attraction in all women regardless of their appearance, status, or individual. This algorithm eliminates the need for different strategies with different women. The universal algorithm operates on three core principles that transcend individual differences between women. The first principle is confident sakency, maintaining unshakable self-assurance, regardless of the woman's response or perceived value. This confidence signals high mate value and triggers attraction across all female psychology types. The second principle is sexual authenticity, expressing romantic and physical interest and honestly directly without apology. This authenticity cuts through social games and connects with fundamental female desires for masculine essentiality. The third principle is emotional independence, maintaining your unemotional center rather than seeking validation from the woman you're interested in. With this independence secretes the psychological tension that transforms female indifference into female pursuit. The universal algorithm reveals why men who try to customize a VIA approach for different women often fail. They assume that more want different treatment, but in reality, all women respond to the same fundamental attraction triggers. The algorithm also explains why certain men are successful with all types of women while others struggle across the board. Successful men have discovered universal principles and apply them consistently, while unsuccessful men keep trying different strategies for different women. Understanding the universal algorithm means recognizing that your approach to your dream woman should be identical to your approach to any woman. The same confidence, sexual directness, and emotional independence that works with one will work with all. This universality is actually liberating because it removes the pressure to figure out what each individual woman wants. Instead of trying to read her specific preferences, you simply apply proven universal principles and let her respond accordingly. The universal algorithm also means that developing competence with any women develops competence with all women. Once you master the art of creating attraction with women you're not invested in, you simply need to maintain those same behaviors with women you are invested in. Converting theoretical knowledge into practical skill requires what I call the practice integration strategy, a systematic approach to applying Gunevel attraction principles with progressively more desirable women until maintaining effective behaviors. Become automatic, regardless of emotion. The integration strategy begins with baseline establishment, identifying and documenting the specific behaviors that make women you're moderately interested in pursue you. This documentation creates a behavior template that can be applied to our future interactions. The next phase is controlled application, consciously applying your documented effective behaviors to women you find more attractive, while monitoring your tendency to revert to ineffective patterns. This phase requires constancy and behavior. The strategy includes escalation testing, gradually applying your effective behaviors to increasingly attract women to build confidence of that. The same principles work regardless of the woman's desirability. The final phase is automatization, practicing universal principles until they become habitual responses that require conscious effort to maintain. At this stage, you naturally behave effectively with all women, regardless of your attraction level to them. The practice integration strategy, patience, and systematic application, but it's the only way to permanently solve the competence. Once effective behaviors become automatic, attraction will enhance your confidence rather than destroying it. If this analysis of the dating competence paradox has revealed patterns you recognize in your own romantic behavior, subscribe to this channel for more insights into the psychology of attraction and relationship dynamics. Hit that notification bell because understanding these patterns could prevent you from sabotaging the very relationships you most want to succeed. Share this video with any man who needs to understand that attraction kills competence, that desire often destroys desire, and that the key to success with women you want is treating them exactly like women you don't want. Remember, you already know how to attract women. You've proven this with women you're not emotionally invested in. The challenge isn't learning new skills, it's maintaining effective skills when your emotions are telling you to abandon them. Your romantic success with desirable women isn't limited by your abilities, it's limited by your willingness to use those abilities when they matter most. The same behaviors that make uninteresting women chase you will make interesting women chase you. If you can maintain those behaviors despite wanting the outcome more intensely, the competence is already there. The Kalang is accessing it when it counts. Master that challenge, and you'll never again wonder why the women you didn't want always want you, while the women you do want always leave.